that. Meanwhile, we are joined now on the Deseret First Credit Union hotline by the play-by-play voice of the Blazers of UAB, David Crane. David, welcome to BYU Sports Nation.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it very much.
Hard not to be impressed with 26-6 overall, a school record for wins in a season. From your perspective, what has made this team so successful this year?
Oh, God, that's a good question. I think it goes back to last year when UAB was able to win the Conference USA tournament and get into the NCAA and then win a game knocking off Iowa State. And you had basically that entire team back this year, only one senior on the roster. So they went through a lot of struggles in the non-conference portion last year, then had some success in conference, won the conference tournament, had the success in the NCAA tournament. So I think all of that really set UAB up nicely this year. They played very, very well at home. I think they're on a 25-game winning streak at Bartow Arena, which is also a school record. They had a ton of school records this year. It really was a very special season that unfortunately ended not the way any of us were hoping it would, certainly not the way the team wanted it to, but a lot to be proud of. And I think it's an experienced team, although it is still a very young team. The majority of these guys are sophomores and sprinkle in a couple of juniors and the one senior in Robert Brown. So it's been a fun team to watch. They've been pretty good offensively all season long. The defense has been up and down just a little bit, but they've always shown great resolve, even when things aren't going well for them in a game or maybe in a little bit of a stretch. So I think that will certainly be tested tomorrow night. They have the toughest and most disappointing outing of the season in their last game out. So I will be curious to see how they are able to respond and put last Thursday's loss to Western Kentucky behind them.
David, with all of that success that you talked about, and a school record 26 wins and winning the league by, 3 games and whatnot, what level of disappointment was there to not make the NCAA tournament?
I don't know if I have a word to describe the amount of disappointment.
Wow.
And part of it is, and I think some of your folks can understand this as well, it really didn't matter. All those school records and everything that was going on, the regular season championship, all of that stuff didn't matter because UAB knew Conference USA was a one-bid league, and the only way to get back to the NCAA tournament was to win the conference tournament. And I think maybe compounding things a little bit was the fact that UAB was hosting the tournament in Birmingham, not at Bartow Arena, not on the home floor, but downtown. So I think there was immense pressure that everybody realized, and you build it all up, and you basically played 4 months as a warm-up for what you hoped would be 3 games in 3 days and a return to the NCAA tournament. And when that didn't happen, I think it was a tremendous blow to everybody, the coaches, the players, certainly the fans. The radio announcer didn't feel like getting out of bed for a couple of days. I will admit to that. So it was a tremendous disappointment for this basketball team.
Real talk on BYU Sports Nation right now with the play-by-play voice of the UAB Blazers, David Crane. BYU certainly can relate to not making the NCAA tournament and feeling that disappointment. But here we are. The reality is that UAB is the 7th seed in the NIT, very good 26-win team on the road in Provo to take on BYU at the Marriott Center. Now that things have settled a bit, what do you think about the matchup for the Blazers with BYU?
I think I may want to go back to bed at this point. Because again, and this is not directed at anyone, not at BYU or anything else. You know, UAB has this wonderful season. They win their conference. They tried to schedule well non-conference. It didn't work out for them. They did all these things, and all along they're seeing these projections for the NCAA tournament where they're a 15 seed. Well, they were a 14 last year, and you know, what in the world? There's just no respect for Conference USA. And then you turn around and congratulations, you're a 7 seed, which, I mean, sounds like you barely got into the NIT even with your automatic bid to the NIT. And you get shipped out west to BYU, who is dynamite at home, scores a ton of points. So I think all of that said, I think this team will be ready to go. I think they've kind of stewed about and felt sorry for themselves for a couple of days, and they got back to work on Sunday and Monday, and they'll practice again today before we jump on the plane and head out there. And I really do think once they tip it up, once what I'm sure is going to be a big, loud, hostile crowd is there, I think this team's going to decide, you know what, it's basketball. We got a chance at a championship, a trip to New York maybe. Let's don't come out here and embarrass ourselves. Let's play some basketball. And I do think they will be ready to go once they tip it up tomorrow night.
Why do you feel that way? Because you've described the season to me, and I'm, like, depressed for UAB basketball after that.
Well, welcome to my world. It's hard because the expectations were very high. This team was the preseason pick to win the league, and they took care of business. They went 16-2 in the league. We all know this is not the best league in the world. It was, I think, ranked the 22nd strongest league in the country. And so, I read Mark Few's comments, I think, earlier this morning about some of the other teams in the West Coast Conference need to pick it up. And Jared Hass, I'm not sure would ever be that direct about it, but there are a lot of us that think, you know what, some of these teams in Conference USA have got to step it up and try and make this a better basketball league, because it can be. I'm not sure it's ever going to be a 3 or 4 bid league, but there's no reason for this league, for its champion, to be a 15 seed in the NCAA tournament, which Middle Tennessee is, and its regular season champion, a 7 seed in the NIT. It just shows, I think, the lack of respect for the league, and all that to say, again, you knew going in. Here's the deal. You got to win 3 games in 3 days. Congratulations on your 26 wins, on your 16-2, win the league by 3. It does not matter. You could have gone over and gone to Birmingham in that tournament, and in that case won 4 games in 4 days, and you would go to the NCAA tournament, and you'd probably still be a 15 seed.
That's unbelievable to think about, the fact that UAB could have been 29-6 and like a 14 or a 15 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I think best case scenario, if they had won the tournament and gone in, I think maybe a 14 would have been the absolute best they would have gotten this year.
And a team that beat Iowa State last year in the NCAA tournament.
Yep. Exactly.
That's
and would have been lucky to have had the exact same seed they got a year ago when they weren't as good a basketball team.
David, how does UAB win this game in Provo?
I think they've got to score a lot of points. I would like to think, I know Jared Hass would like to think this team could come out there and defend and maybe slow BYU down a little bit, but I think reality says the Cougars playing at home are going to score some points, and maybe that's also what UAB needs right now. Don't try to grind a game out on the road in a hostile environment. See if you can get out there. You may be playing into BYU's hands, but go out there, have fun, try and score some points, get in some transition, some fast break buckets. That's when UAB's been really, really good and effective on the offensive end is when they've been able to get out and run, get some stops. You've got to get a stop eventually to win a basketball game, and then get out and run. And if the shots will fall for UAB tomorrow night, I think they can hang in there with the Cougars and make it a very entertaining ball game. If BYU is knocking down their shots and UAB is struggling to match, it could be tough for the Blazers tomorrow night.
The UAB Blazers play-by-play voice David Crane with us on BYU Sports Nation. The Blazers haven't traveled farther west than Louisiana this year. Now it's on to Provo, Utah. Coach Hass said that yesterday that travel plans were still being finalized. So do you have a hotel and a flight booked, David, at this point?
We've all packed sleeping bags. I'm not sure why the operations guy told us to do that, but we do have sleeping bags, and I think there is a bus that's going to be waiting for us when we arrive in Provo later today. That's just another, delight of the NIT. No offense to anyone in the NIT, but it seems to not matter what your travel plans are and if you have to stay up all night or do whatever when you're heading to the NCAA tournament. It's different, but it was a struggle to figure out how best to do it, but I think the Blazers are going to load up and head out this afternoon about 3 o'clock, which should hopefully get them to Provo around dinner time, and get up tomorrow morning, go have a shoot around, and look forward to what we hope is an exciting game tomorrow night.
Do you have a pass to the game? Do we need to help get you in, man?
Well, they did take care of credentials for me.
Okay,
that
good,
was
good.
one thing that I've got the equipment. So if they want the game on the air, they had to get me a pass, and I think they have secured that, which is nice.
Excellent. Yesterday, BYU players and coaches referenced athleticism and the length of UAB's team. What do you see in terms of those two abilities for the Blazers?
That's been, again, when they played well and had success, that's been their strong suit. Again, getting out and running a little bit, defending. They're a good shot-blocking team. They've got two guys on the inside that have totaled about 130 thereabouts blocks on the season. So they are long. They've got some guys that can get out and run. Dirk Williams, a local guy from Homewood, Alabama, right around Birmingham, has come in this year, and when he is playing well and is getting up and down the floor, he's as fun to watch as anybody you'll see, because he's long, he's lanky, and he's just like a gazelle getting up and down the floor. So if UAB can get out and defend that three-point line a little bit, and again, get into transition, maybe force some turnovers, and start running just a little bit, even in the altitude, I think that's probably the best case scenario for the green and gold.
David Crane, follow him on Twitter at DCraneUAB. Great to talk to you, my friend. We'll see you tomorrow, and look forward to a fun game in the NIT.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Can't wait to get out there.